Hello, we are here at the last remaining farmers market in Chihuahua, Mexico, and with a farmer, one of the last remaining farmers named Juan. Juan, thank you for being here today with us.
Thank you for having me.
I'd just like to start by asking you, how has NAFTA affected how has the initiation of NAFTA affected farming in Mexico?
Where do I begin? It's devastated our town and torn apart the whole community. We used to have large markets where we buy our locally grown corn and other vegetables every day. The marketplace used to be the livelihood of the community. Now, with NAFTA in place, that no longer exists. Hundreds of farmers have been put out of work and no longer do what they were born to be. Now we work at the local supermarket selling vegetables that are processed without anybody even caring from our northern neighbors. It is impossible anymore for a peasant to make a living in the countryside.
Thank you, Juan. I appreciate that. According to the Corn Exports of America, corn exports from Mexico have soared since the NAFTA agreement and caused a flood of cheap corn into the market of Mexicans. Almost 1.5 million Mexican farmers have lost their job because of this. Here we are standing on the land that used to be considered some of the most fertile soil in all of Mexico, where maize was grown in abundance. Imagine this entire piece of land being filled with maize, higher than James Conrad, filling this land. Since 1990 and the initiation of NAFTA, farmers have slowly moved away from the area until the point that it has now reached where the entire landmass is deserted. These rural farmers from all around the country have been dispersing northward to the United States, causing border patrol problems, as well as flooding the population of Mexico City, a place already bursting with slums with a population of over 29 million people keeps increasing. Nevertheless, political parties such as the PRI are pushing the Ejido interest group system that grants land from the Mexican government to the organization themselves. Just as Lázaro Cárdenas strive for economic liberalization, Felipe Calderón and the PAN party, who are ruling the Mexican state today, have a platform of less government intervention in the economy. Will this more economically liberalized approach at government be more beneficial to the state, as many of the country's industries are suffering, or should there be a more government intervention in the economy, such as the PRI party? Only time will tell, as the civilians will decide this election day in 2012 in their direct election of the president.
Now let's welcome our political analyst, Juan Riley, to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
All right, Juan, let's get right to it. Who do you think will be the next president of Mexico?
There are three candidates vying for the presidency. Leading the polls is Enrique Peña Nieto from PRI. Behind him is Josefina Mota Vázquez from PAN, and behind her is Andrés Obrador from PRD.
Wow, a PRI member is leading? I really never thought I'd see this day again.
Yes, it is surprising that a PRI member is doing so well, especially after the 71 years that they ruled Mexico with an iron fist for.
So could you remind our viewers what the PRI really did during their time of rule over Mexico?
In the late 1920s and 30s, the PRI gained power through the Camarilla system. The Camarilla system is a network of patron clientelism. What they would do is go to the poor states and bribe them with electricity and water so that they could get votes. Once they gained steady power, they made sure to hold on to that power through unfair practices, some of which were stuffing ballot boxes, as well as moving ballots at the last second and only telling PRI members.
Now, what did the PAN party do exactly to start losing power?
Under the first PAN president, things went relatively smoothly. However, when Felipe Calderón came to the presidency, things started to go downhill for them, one of which was the economy downturn in 2008. Many lost their jobs, and it was hard on the Mexican population. Another thing that happened under Felipe Calderón is the war on drugs. Calderón started a war on drugs in 2006, and since then crime rate has been through the roof. Many are not happy with that, and that is why the PA and PAN are losing popularity.
What is really the biggest fear that people have about the PRI regaining presidency, if they do, in 2012?
When people began voting for the PAN instead of the PRI, they were making a democratic choice. Now, however, that many are beginning to vote for the PRI again instead of PAN, they're not making a democratic choice. This could cause major problems as the PRI hasn't underwent many changes. Peña Nieto, if he became president, could possibly turn the Chamber of Deputies into his rubber stamp. This could lead him to make changes to the Constitution and other laws that would make the PRI a dominant party system again.
Thanks again, Juan, for being on the show and for all of your insight. We hope to see you again soon.
Thank you for having me.
Is there something missing in your life? Something oniony? Something crunchy? There probably is. Try Onion Crunch. It's a great new condiment. Goes on hot dogs, hamburgers, pizzas, soup, salads, sandwiches, mashed potatoes, steaks, casseroles, you name it, it goes on it. Get all these bottles for the price of this. Just call 1-800-CARDI-PARTY. Just cut it off now.
For more information on Onion Crunch, why don't you look at the sign right over there on Miss Carty's wall?
In breaking news, the Mexico Supreme Court has just upheld an amendment to the Baja California state constitution that makes abortions illegal. This is breaking news because Baja California now joins over half of Mexico's 31 states that have such amendments. I went to the local church, Our Lady of Guadalupe, to see what the parishioners had to say about this.
I'm here with the parishioner of the church, Zach Larock, to ask him a couple of questions about this recent ruling. So what do you think about the ruling that just occurred, making abortions illegal?
Well, every day since this ruling has come out, I thank God, because there are thousands and millions of babies who will be saved from this, and it's the Catholic Church's position to fight for a right for life for all of these unborn children.
All right, well, there you have it.
In related news, Catholic Church officials have spoken out against an initiative brought to the Chamber of Deputies to reinstate the death penalty. The death penalty was abolished in Mexico in 2005. The reason church officials are so against this is because it violates church doctrine on human dignity. But however, many people do not seem to agree with this because a recent survey showed that 70% of those polled voted that they would be in favor of the death penalty. This most likely has to do with the increased violence due to the drug war. We'll keep you updated on the news and see what happens.
We're here on a beach in Baja California, where we can see it's pretty much empty. Many technicos are hoping that other sectors of the economy will pick up quickly as industry and agricultural sectors of the Mexican economy are being outsourced to superpowers like China and the United States. Tourism is something that many officials look forward to, but the drug war still haunts them. Even though there were twice as many casualties relating to the drug war in the first 11 months of 2010, Mexico's tourism secretary, Gloria Guerra Manzo, believes that the number of visitors to Mexico in 2012 will boost by 15%. Even states that there are probably going to be higher levels of violence next year in Mexico. Tourists will flock to the country. Mexico received 8.2 million international visitors last year, which is 17.8% more than 2009. Even though these numbers might paint the picture that Mexican tourism industry is thriving, it isn't though. Cruise ship prices going to Mexico have been slashed because of low demand, and many are urged to stay away from certain sections of Mexico, such as Chihuahua.
I'm Zachary Larock in Ciudad Juarez, Mexico, at the scene of some truly heartbreaking violence as a result of Mexico's war on drugs. According to Jorge Castenda, a former foreign minister from Mexico, since the drug war's inception in 2006, nearly 50,000 Mexicans have been killed by violence associated by drug lords and drug cartels. Now, Ken Ellingwood, a journalist from the Los Angeles Times in the United States, has reported that of the 427,000 police officers, the majority of the force is, in fact, concerning themselves with this war on drugs. The problem with this is you can see behind me this car. Now, the police officers are unfortunately resorting to some of the same tactics as the drug lords, because as they try to apprehend criminals and gather information, they are encountering a lot of resistance from all people in Mexico, because these drug cartels extend through all facets of life here. So this particular car was burned out by drug cartels. However, similar violence has occurred all throughout this country, and especially Ciudad Juarez, as the police officers try to compete with this terrible violence.